everyone. Hi, folks. You are watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media. All of our channels and networks. I'm Mike Morales here in Southern California. That guy out there is
Matt Metris in Rochester, New York.
Matt, and I are we're traipsing. We're walking very carefully through the Blasfemus line, and this is a. You folks may have seen this bottle. If you're on Instagram at all, go check them out on Instagram. It's Blasfemus. This is what they're calling a handmade American agave spirit, blended with 11-year-old agave, and it's 80 proof. So this is a blend, and if you watched our 7-year-old review, I gave you a lot of information there. I'm going to repeat some of it here, probably not all of it. I'm breaking the seal just now. It looks like it's dipped. It looks like it's
wax.
Yeah. The last time I had black wax on us, Alex and I did a tasting for Sola y Lejana mezcal, and the black wax was really sticky, and it reacted like tar. This one doesn't do that. This one is very smooth. It doesn't come off on your hands, in other words, because we had some of that come off on our hands, and I was hoping it didn't get into the juice. Look, Matt, I got a dark cork.
Yeah, let's see what I got. It's like a lottery, cork lottery. Oh, I got a dark one too.
You got a dark cork. Okay, smell it. Smell the neck.
It's different than the last one.
On the 7-year, Matt got not a black cork. He got the regular synthetic beige cork. I got a black one.
I'm not smelling much of anything on the cork. Definitely not any rubber or anything like that.
Yeah, that's a good sign. Okay, so before things go south on us, I'm gonna pour some right
Just
now.
pour it.
Let's just pour it. Okay, shall we? Let's give you the ins and outs while we pour. I'm using a Stasso Jarrito for mezcal. Look, I got lingering bubbles.
Oh, yeah. I'm using a Stasso Jarrito for tequila.
I got bubbles. Please, 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 please tell me that this is a good sign. Go check out our 7-year aged review, where you can see Mike fall apart on camera.
It was bound to happen sooner or later.
Yeah, it's happened. It's been a long time since that's happened. Again, beautiful color, but we don't know what it's being aged in. I have put a question out to the folks at Blasphemous. There is a lot of information that is missing on their website, on their marketing deck. That the average person, somebody like that Matt sees at Matt's brother and he own a bar together, and I think that's the case. And Matt does a lot of tequila tastings and mezcal tastings, and so he's really at the ground level of what is going on in the industry where the customers are concerned. So, we asked them several questions that the normal consumer was going to ask anyway. So, that we're not getting on the bottle. We get a story, and I'll go through the story on this expression.
Yeah, you don't see this color in. This is definitely an añejo color when it comes to tequila. This is If it's aged, if it's natural, it's been aged for a while.
I mean, at least, if this were tequila, like I say, it's got to be 3 years at least. Maybe not. Maybe we've seen some reposados that maybe it's a reposado that's blended with some añejo. I don't know. That could be it too, right?
Yeah.
We know it's a blend. We know that, and I'll explain how we know that. Beautiful legs and tears. Again, visually, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Now you're using your Stossel for tequila. I'm using my Stossel for mezcal, which got the wider mouth. I'm not getting as much of the powdered rubber.
That's good. That's a plus.
Yes, I'm getting more plant. I'm actually excited. There's alcohol. there's a little bit of that synthetic smell that we used to associate with primitive mezcal. You know, the kind that you go to Oaxaca or you go to Ensenada or Tijuana, and or you go to a resort and you see these people on the side of the road and they try to sell you a big jug of whatever, con gusano, and it smells like fuel, like it's gasoline.
Why wouldn't you buy that?
Cheap. It's like $1. Hey, this is much more pleasant to the nose, though. I gotta say, I'm getting more plant. I'm getting more age notes. The alcohol is prominent.
Yeah, the alcohol is still prominent. I'm getting more plant than we did in the 7-year.
Good.
I'm not getting a ton of barrel things we'd associate with a barrel like oak or those dessert type flavors.
Yeah, I'm not either. There's a certain amount of alcohol, and that's not a bad thing. Again, we're talking about mezcal. This is a blend of espadín. According to the bottle, this is an 11-year plant.
Right.
We don't know how long it's aged. We don't know what it's aged in, but we know the plant is a mature plant. Okay, we know that. And the blend, the rest of where it's coming from is South Texas. It is the Patatorum agave, which grows all over. I lived in San Antonio for 8 years. It grows everywhere as ground cover. You see it in front of banks. If you follow my Instagram, you can see a picture. If you scroll, you'll see some black and white pictures of Patatorum that are growing their quiote. And the quiote is way bigger than the plant. The plant's not that big. But if they're well cared for, they're beautiful. They're gorgeous, and they grow all over South Texas, all over. So
what's the normal age life on those? To get to the Quixote stage?
I don't know because I'm not a botanist.
Yeah.
It's got to be over 7 years maybe before they start to grow the Quixote, and you'll see them grow it. The gardeners let them grow. Every strip mall's got a few of them. In Texas, you can go to any strip mall in San Antonio, and you'll find 1 or 2. And there are some Agave Americana that they also grow, and there's some, I forget what the name of it is, because again, I'm not too keen on the plants themselves, but some of them have a yellow outline around the green. It's another strain or variety of Agave Americana, and they're beautiful as ground cover. They're gorgeous to look at. I think the Patatorum is 7 to 10 years before it starts to grow a stem. To grow.
I was just thinking, since they're blending an 11 in here, if we were thinking it was the espadín or the Patatorum, I think both of them are going to go to seed prior to hitting that point. That's sort of something that popped into my head.
Oh, well, it depends. It depends on how they treat it. I mean, if they're treating it like tequila, then when it starts to grow a stem, they hack that stem.
Yeah.
And so it's called what's the word? It's in the book. It's in my catador course. Not a barbeo. Barbeo is when they cut the leaves. That's something different. This is it's kind of a castration. Okay, the translation is castration, and what it does is as soon as that stem starts to grow, they hack it off, and all the sugars that it takes to grow the stem go back into the plant, and it makes the plant bigger. Okay, so it's a type of castration for the plant. So that's what they're doing to these plants, these espadín. They're castrating them, and they're letting them grow longer in the ground. Someday, if they're bat friendly or they're a lot more natural, they're going to let some of them go to seed. The Patatorum, because it's Texas, nobody at this point that I know of, nobody is harvesting those or growing them commercially, except for maybe gardening places. There are several in Texas that will sell you anywhere from palm trees to that type of ground cover, to agave, and they may be growing them commercially for sale. But there's very few that are growing them, to make juice out of them. Okay, so we know it's a blend. We don't know if it's a 50-50, 70-30, whatever. We're gonna dive in and see what we get.
Okay. I get a lot more flavors we would expect with aging on the taste. I picked up some oak right away, some sweet dessert flavor like vanilla or butterscotch, a little bit of smoke that we would normally associate with a mezcal that's been oven or pit roasted. Plant's coming through a little bit at the end, but the plant is not prominent in here.
You know what I should have done, and I didn't do that. I should have rinsed out my mouth. I did everything else, and I didn't do that. So that's probably why I'm still getting residue from the rubber. But here's what I will say: much more plant-like. It's reacting much more like a mezcal. It's bright and peppery on the lip numbness, on the gum, on the palate. And it's got a good long finish. You know, Matt, I'm surprised that at 80 proof, it's reacting like a much more aggressive mezcal, like it's at a higher proof.
Absolutely. Yeah, I get that as well. You get some of that residual tingling, and we had that in both expressions so far. I agree on the finish, very long finish, but very nice.
It's not bad, and I can't give a completely unbiased because I've got residue. I got to tell you, let me just confess to you folks. After we signed off on the 7-year, I ran to the bathroom. I dumped what I had. I had to rinse out my spit bucket because it would not come off my spit bucket. I rinsed it several times in hot water. Washed my hands because you saw us pour some in our hands, and it finally came off my hands. And because what I didn't get a chance to do, and I should have done it, and it's my fault. I'm better than that. I should have rinsed out my mouth because it was the whatever tainted that 7-year, and I'm suspecting it's the cork or something, has already colored and coated my palate. So I need to go cleanse my palate. I'm going to do that between the 11 and 7-year-old. But it's not so bad that I can't pull stuff out. What I'm going to do, let's just pour some in our hand and see where else we're getting, Matt. I'm going to do that anyway on my end. And I did this with the 7-year because I just couldn't. There was just something there that I could not get. And I just wanted to verify. Just confirmation is what I was looking for. So we pour some in our hands, we diffuse it, and then we sniff it. Much more plant.
I think it's not going to be good for me. I'm getting scented hand soap that I washed my hands with in between the last two tastings.
Man, that's against rule number 2. Don't use scented soaps or perfumes or colognes, okay? I'm getting more plant. I'm not sure if I'm getting enough wood. It's almost as if the wood is an afterthought. And I'm not, I asked them, what is it being aged in and for how long? I really want to know that. I'm not sure if it's whiskey. It could be cognac. It could be a used bourbon barrel. Tell me what's in it. Tell me, is it sherry? Is it rum? But
it could be anything because they're not bound by the restrictions of the CRT or the CRM as far as aging. So it could be anything they want in there, apparently.
Yeah, well, let me read you some of the background information that they give us on the back of the bottle and on the POS on the marketing deck. We are descendants of the first settlers that left their home in the South to create new legacy in the North. That passed down to us the recipes that defied what has been conventional for over 250 years. Okay, why not share them with the world? Agave welcomed our ancestors. It witnessed the birth of the greatness of this country. It has always been there. Let's follow its example. Build your passion, follow your dreams. Why not? I like it. I like it. That's what it says on the back here. Again, this is an American agave spirit, but they're not telling us it's an 11-year-old blended with 11-year-old agave. All right. Here's what we don't know. We don't know what it's aged in. What we do know is, and I read through some of this briefly in our 7-year information. I tried to get some clarification from them. The original juice is from Oaxaca. By the way, the folks behind this brand are the folks behind Brujo Mezcal. Mm-hmm. We just got, I can't wait to dive into Brujo. We've only had one varietal run expression between Matt and myself, actually two, and it was the most awkward.
One half.
One half. It's actually the most awkward review he and I have ever done. You can find it on our YouTube channel. The reason it didn't work is because he got one different one and I got a Pachuga. So that's like night and day, all right? Apples and oranges. Anyway, I asked them, I said, I asked them, is the original juice coming from Oaxaca? And they said, yes. The original juice is coming from Oaxaca, is being shipped in bulk to Roma, Texas. And in Roma, Texas, where they have their distillery, they have a working distillery there. I said, is it being finished and polished? And is there so technically, would this be a triple distilled? They said, no. This is double distilled is coming from Oaxaca into the U.S. And the finishing, and I said, finishing and polishing it in your copper stills in Roma, correct? And they said, no. Blasphemus is a blend of Mexican agaves distilled in Mexico and from American agaves distilled in Roma, Texas, in a lesser amount. We don't know what the percentage of the amount is. It could be 70-30, 80-20, 50-50. I have no idea. Okay? They don't, and they're trying to work the bugs out on that as well. What comes from American agave is produced and finished 100% at the distillery in Roma, Texas. Then both plants are blended together. Okay, I got no problem with that, folks, because blending and polishing happens anywhere from Scotch to rum to sherry. The Solera method is all that. That's what that is. They said for the bulk of the distilled agave, what we will be producing in Texas, we intend to rely in the future exclusively with what is planted and sown on our land in Fronton, Texas. I'm not sure where that is. I'm sure it's South Texas. We are still defining the mixture of the agave varieties that we will harvest on our land. So they're working out the bugs, folks. This has never been done before, okay? I mean, there are American agave spirits, but to actually distill something in the U.S. from plants that are grown in South Texas, because we know agave grows worldwide, but it only grows in certain climates. If it's too cold, the further north you go in Texas, like Dallas and Austin, you may see these plants, but they don't grow there. They've been replanted there as ground cover because the first, you guys know, in San Antonio and Texas, your cold spell, there's a lot of your plants that died, all right? Because agave doesn't handle the snow well. I know living in New Mexico, as long as I did, agave just doesn't grow that well there. It has to be pretty old to survive a few cold snaps. Okay, So we know that. They're moving mature plants onto their property to hopefully finish growing there, and then eventually they're going to, everything that comes out of that distillery will be 100% Texas grown. So in order for them to be called an American agave spirit, some of it has to come from the U.S. Otherwise, the TTB would never give them their labels and bottles. It's just not going to happen. All right. So technically, it is an American agave spirit. For those of you who have been following us, you know that you've seen my book, Agave Spirits Around the World. There's a chapter there about American agave spirits and where the history of Mexico is with the United States and all the border towns, all the borderlands. if for nothing else, read that chapter. You can, for those of you who are subscribers, you can download the issue where that section of the book is, or just get yourself the book. It's available on Amazon. I'll show you the book in our next review. I go into the history of the borderlands. They didn't cross our border. The borders crossed them. Okay, Mexico lost a lot of territory to the United States in its concessions over the years and the treaties. And so it's, to me, it's not uncommon that a Mexican family would stay on their side of their land and keep doing what they've been doing. Okay, I'm good with that. I want to see more of that. The world is ready for an American agave spirit. There are organic agave spirits. They're using blue agave. I cover all of that in that chapter of the book. There are blue agave spirits coming out of Central California right now that are really causing a stir. So the world is ready. South Texas deserves this, okay? But it just needs a little bit more transparency so that we know what's going on. And I gotta say, Matt, I like this one way better than the 7-year.
Absolutely, me too.
And the 7-year that I have is tainted. There's something completely gone south on that one. I'm gonna say it's the cork.
Yeah, my bar was set a little higher, but I still think this one. I enjoy this one more than the 7-year.
I do too. I'm going to give it one more pass, and then we're just going to sign off and go into the 17-year. I'm looking forward to that. Still very prominent. It's still opening up with a lot of alcohol in it, and it's it's not nose burning alcohol, but it's very prominent and it's bringing up the aromas to you. So
I get like a toffee or something maybe after it's sat for a while.
Maybe so. This may be one of those brands that we just got to let it sit, and we just don't have the time, folks. I mean, we're already going into the 22 minutes here, and if you've had it and you're one of the few that have been lucky enough to get samples, tell us what you think in the comments below. Write us. Tell us what you're doing with it. I mean, are you pairing it with cigars? Are you having dessert with it? Are you pairing it with food? What are you doing with it? What can you do? Much more plump. Way better. There's some plant sweetness on it on the side. There's still a little bit of there's bitterness on the back end of my palate. Now that I've had some of this, rinse through, much more enjoyable. Okay, much more enjoyable. I don't know what happened to that 7-year. I'm sad about it. It's sad. This one, but it still reacts very aggressively. This is not a faint agave spirit. Okay, I'm not even going to call it a mezcal because technically it's an American agave spirit. In its origin, it's a mezcal. Okay. So again, blend of both worlds. What do you do it? But we've had agave spirits this year. It's been the biggest agave spirit submission to Tequila Aficionado. We've had agave spirit from Australia, beautiful agave spirit. We've had it from New Zealand, gorgeous agave spirit. I'm still waiting on something from South Africa. Didn't get it yet. I got organic agave spirit made with blue agave concentrate from the United States. Beautiful stuff. So, the world is ready for this. I want to know how long it's aged, what it's aged in, and anything else they can tell us. What the blend is, 70-30, 50-50, 80-40, 51-49. I don't know. But anyway, that's our take on Blasphemous. Do you have anything else you want to add, Matt?
I just want to build on that. I would like to know more about the production itself. Based on what we're tasting, we can assume the Oaxaca portion is being roasted in an underground oven. But what's being done on the American side? Are they using an autoclave or a brick oven or a pit, or what's happening there? And just how those two come together is making for this interesting collection of flavors and aromas that we're tasting.
Valid point. Point taken. Very well said. There have been pictures of the distillery that have been seen on Instagram. Not everything is there. They have a really unusual copper still with a huge copper wire that comes down into this, what looks like a pot. It's very modernized and yet kind of steampunky at the same time. Bright copper, bright brass, you know. So I'd be interested to find out what, like Matt said, are you pit roasting it? You know, the Patatorum. Are you autoclave? I would imagine it's autoclave, but I don't know. I've never been there. I have no idea, and I don't even know if anyone else has actually seen the rest of the property. But great questions. Hopefully, we'll have answers for you. That's our take on Blasphemous. I'm Mike Morales here in Southern California. That guy out there is
Matt Metris in Rochester, New York.
You've been watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media, all of our channels and networks. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, for that matter. Follow Matt as well on his Instagram. We are also on YouTube, so if you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a like on this video. Hit the notification bell. The like helps us on the algorithms. Hey, subscribe. Whatever you do, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely.